So basically, I've got a non-working table saw. My shop is just chaos right now. It is a real mess. It's not usually like this. I had a catastrophe. You might even be saying, Brett, what's a job site saw doing in your wood shop? And I'm like, yeah, exactly. It's usually stowed back there for off-site jobs. But my Ridgid took a and now I'm sawless. Well, not sawless, but, sawless. But wait, there's more. But before I get into what I'm about to do, let me take you back a few days. So last week I started working on a customer project. I'm building a fireplace mantle and matching floating shelves out of reclaimed white oak. It's very weathered and worn and rough. I don't need the full thickness of it, I just need the appearance on the outsides. I didn't want to turn it all into sawdust. I want to try to preserve some of it, but it was definitely too thick to use for the project. The way I like to resaw is to run on edge through the table saw and put in a blade kerf on both edges, and then take it over to the bandsaw and cut that middle part out. And then obviously you got to take it to the planer to smooth out the backside. So I was doing that, making the saw kerf on the table saw on my Ridgid, and the board was not exactly straight because it's reclaimed weathered timbers. So I'm trying to shove a not straight board through a straight saw, and it was bogging down. It didn't like it. It was struggling, smoking, and eventually it stopped turning. It tripped the breaker in the house. So I had to go up in the garage and flip the breaker, try again, and did not want to come back on. Gave it a chance to cool down, went up and flipped the breaker again. It didn't even hum. It just tripped the breaker right away when I tried to turn it on. And to get to the motor on my Ridgid is not easy, because I have an outfeed table attached to the back panel where you access the motor. So I have to take the outfeed table off to get to the panel, to get to the motor. I do still have the owner's manual, and it instructed me to check the fuse. And I wasn't sure if the saw had a fuse. So I got access to the motor and opened up the junction box with the wiring. There's no fuse anywhere. And I didn't initially know to look for a reset button. I went back later and looked all around the motor, and there isn't one on my Ridgid model. 7.5 years old, maybe they have it now, mine doesn't. So basically I've got a non-working table saw, and I'm in the middle of a customer project, and I just can't not have a saw. I do have a DeWalt job site saw, so I busted that out. I'm like, maybe I can use this to kind of bridge the gap and get me through and keep going. That did work. I was able to make that kerf, and I was able to get it through the bandsaw and separate the two pieces. But, a job site saw isn't nearly as hefty as a contractor saw, and it's on a mobile base, and so it's moving all over as I'm trying to push this big lumber through it. It's just kind of very less. Not a good setup, but it kind of worked. But long term, I can't not have a saw in my shop. And as far as I know, the only other comparable hybrid cast iron under $1,000 price point saw is the Delta that is sold at Lowe's. Menards does not have any type of cast iron saw, neither does Home Depot. I didn't check Fleet Farm, but I knew Lowe's had the Delta. So I went over to Lowe's to check out the Delta, and their display model was just a train wreck. It was just a dumpster fire. The cast iron it was full of rusty fingerprints, and whatever Yahoo put it together did not do a good job. It was very rickety, and the fence didn't slide well. It is a better design of a fence because it's a T-style fence, kind of like a Biesenmeyer, I guess. It's a way better fence than what my Ridgid had. And I knew that I could put one together better out of the box and make it, you know, solid and useful. But this display model was not a good selling point for the saw. So I'm, you know, kind of stressed out about this, and I don't really have the money to replace a saw. You know, the customer gave me a deposit to do the job. It's not his problem that my saw broke. And though I have some money that probably could afford that saw, it's $7.99 plus tax. Well, here's my road, 42. So all this rambling, well, I just lost my train of thought because I had to make a turn to get to a Rockler that I've never been to before. The Rockler that I go to is about half hour from my house. They don't have the saw that I want in stock, so I'd go a little further, and I've never been to this store before. But the short story is I'm on my way to Rockler to get a new saw. So I was stressed and sad and kind of mad, but God bless my wife, who is just very generous and supportive, and she talked me out of the Delta. She said we can afford a better one. So with her input and agreement, I am on my way to get a Laguna Fusion F1. They have them in stock at this Rockler, and I am pretty excited now. I'm just so blessed to have a supportive and loving wife who's generous and wants me to have a good working saw and not a piece of junk that I'm gonna regret buying later. And she was right. This is a better move. I think I'll be happy with this saw. Alright, I found the Rockler. Let's go inside. Howdy. Rockler. Afternoon. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what heaven looks like. Here's the Laguna Fusion F1 table saw. This is the entry-level saw in their Fusion lineup. The rip fence handle has magnets on it so it stays up to make it easier for one-handed adjustments. I gotta switch hands here. Locks in nice and solid. It's got overhead dust collection. You don't find that on any other entry-level saw. You can leave the blade guard on while you remove the throat plate. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, go ahead and give it a like. This lever back here locks down the riving knife. It should just pull straight up out of here. Oops. I gotta put this back together. So basically my motor's fried, probably a short, and I'm not an electric motor guy. I don't have the tools or the know-how to fix a motor, nor do I want to learn. I just want to keep going on my customer project, so I got to figure out how to get that disassembled and get it up and out of my shop, which is in the basement, as you know. I probably should still get it repaired. I called a local repair shop And they said, yeah, we work on table saws. You'll have to get it here, obviously. I was trying to get a ballpark of what it might be, you know, what would be the max I'd have to spend repairing the motor. And they just wouldn't even give me a ballpark. I'm like, well, you know, I bought the saw for, I don't remember, it was under $700 8 years ago at Home Depot. They don't even sell it at Home Depot anymore. My shop is in the basement, for one thing. It's a small shop, it's 200 square feet, only 7-foot ceilings. And so whatever machine I get down there, I've got to be able to get down there in pieces. I won't be able to, I can't move a whole saw down the stairs. I can't even fit the shipping carton down the stairs. I'm gonna have to take it apart in the garage and bring it down piece by piece.
Just gently guide it down each step. Oh, no, you know, just let it slam. It's okay. So, we're trying so, Wixey. That was that down each step. Okay. That's what it's
So, you know, you're YouTube famous. As if I am. And this saw wasn't the only new toy I got today. 3M retired their dust extractors and a good friend brought me one for nothing. Thanks, Richard. And a big thanks to my daughter Mimi for helping me film a little bit, and her boyfriend Caleb for helping me safely get the saw down the stairs. And thank you for watching.